Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming in. We are live now. Uh, Discussing a topic is very interesting to me, and I think really shows how much sports have changed over the last decade. If you remember a week ago, about maybe a little less, I uploaded a podcast about how I think sports will change. Well, in the beginning, I mentioned some of the ways it meant we changed in the last decade. And one thing that's really changed about sports that I didn't mention because I had this episode planned out is why now are sports so political. Now, I think this is a great time to upload this because the NFL is about to, in just a few hours, um, about now 3 hours from now, actually 3 hours pretty much exactly from now, will kick off their next regular season with the Eagles playing the Falcons. And for the third straight year, one of the big controversies for the NFL has been the anthem protests, players kneeling in the anthem to protest social injustices, particularly police brutality and treatment of minorities in this country. So, Nike has also been in the news this week because they have created an advertisement. They've created an advertisement where the instigator of the originator of these protests, Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't been in the NFL in 2 years, is the both the narrator and the main focus. And one of the stills in the ad says, "When you believe in something, you sacrifice everything." So this has generated a lot of controversy. The president has, of course, tweeted about it as the anthem protests have been a way of firing up his base, and he did so last year at a rally in Alabama, and that's when he started going after the players who were protesting. And that week, you had massive protests and almost whole teams kneeling. We've had uh, we've had a lot of drama with the NFL. The NFL has clumsily tried to rectify the situation so that all sides are happy. But in this day and age, it seems like you can't really solve something with making everybody happy. So what they did was initially they had a rule that teams could decide for themselves the punishments for, if they wanted to, the ramifications and the punishments for players kneeling. And of course, the Dolphins had a very draconian policy of suspending players multiple games if they protest and fining them money, significant amounts of money. So the NFL was like, no, we can't have that. So now they're back at the table with the NFLPA, but obviously no solution in sight for week one, or really the foreseeable future for the NFL and how they're going to deal with the anthem protests. But it's not just the NFL. LeBron James, who is arguably the biggest basketball player and one of the biggest athletes on the planet, has also been very political in the last few years. It started at the ESPYS. He and Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony make the speech about social injustice and about police brutality. He's more recently been a strong critic of the current administration, and he has two new shows out now. One on Showtime that's yet to air uh, called "Shut Up and Dribble," which was what a Fox News host, Nora Ingram, said about James in a on a show last year, and or earlier this year, and one that just recently aired last week for the first time, which was on called it's on HBO and it's called The Shop, and it's basically him in a barber shop talking with key figures. So this past week, he had Odell Beckham Jr. on, he had Jon Stewart, the comedian, on, he had some other guys on as well. But the big topic was with Odell and what it's like to be a athlete, particularly a black athlete in this country. So really, LeBron James has gotten very political, and it's a far cry from back in the day when players kind of stayed away from politics. It doesn't mean there haven't been players who've gotten political after their careers. There's a lot of NFL, NBA, MLB players, NHL players who run for governor or Congress, or I mean, Joe Ford played football at the University of Michigan and then went into politics after that. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was not only an actor, but before that a weightlifter, became governor of California. So it's not the first time, but generally they wait till after their careers to make a political statement or to run for office or whatever. Now, players do it in the middle of their careers. And there's a great quote attributed to Michael Jordan back in the 90s of why he didn't get political. And that quote was, "Republicans buy sneakers too," which is actually, if you know who Clay Travis is, the radio host and OutkickTheCoverage.com founder, that's going to be a title of a book that he's going to release on this topic, which I really can't wait to read. I have it pre-ordered and everything. I think it'll be an interesting read to see what he has to say. And if you listen to his show, he kind of will talk about it frequently, about the latest political drama that's in sports. Now, sports are supposed to be, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, if you look at the NFL rating decline and the backlash that some of these athletes have gotten, this is supposed to be this unifying time. You know, like they've literally stopped wars to play games of soccer. You know, they've literally seen, whether you're Republican or Democrat, people come together in the stands to cheer on their favorite teams and their favorite players. I think a great example is at these championship parades. At the Eagles championship parade last February, there were thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people show up to downtown Philadelphia that day. And I don't think any of them are wondering if the person next to them is a Republican and likes Trump, or is a Democrat and hates Trump, or whatever. They're just there as fans, and they're unified as fans, celebrating the accomplishment of their team. And that's what sports was about, and it's been about forever. But now, you kind of have this attitude among athletes, among the media, that, well, if you're an athlete, you have to stand for something. You know, you have to be like Muhammad Ali, even though today athletes don't get the treatment Muhammad Ali did. I mean, when Muhammad Ali protested and decided not to go to Vietnam, he was actually suspended from boxing. Like, it wasn't just like some guys, some anonymous, like with LeBron, some anonymous people on Twitter, blast him and call him names. It was an actual impact to his career that he was suspended for not going to Vietnam. And that was very controversial because you had, other athletes who have gone to war before and have interrupted their careers. And Muhammad Ali said no, that he wouldn't go, that the famous quote, "No Viet is called me the N-word." So, you have that as an example that's held up, or the athletes at the 68 games that did the Black Power fist on the medal stand and were stripped of their medals by the Olympic Committee because the Olympic Committee didn't want political statements during the games. But, they actually faced criticism. It was at a time when that was, and it wasn't like the biggest other big stars did. It was actually very seldom. Now it seems like if you don't have a political opinion, you're criticized. And it happened just last week with Tiger Woods. He's coming off the course. A New York Times announcer approaches him, and instead of asking him about his round or his performance, it was the Sunday of the last tournament before the FedEx Cup, which is the playoffs of the PGA Tour. They're asking him about his opinions on Trump. And Tiger Woods answers, well, because Tiger's both been friends and has golfed with Trump before pre-presidency, now after. By the way, he's done the same with Barack Obama. He's done the same with George H.W. Bush. He did the same with Bill Clinton. He tried to get something set up with Bush 43, but scheduling conflicts, they never got together. So he's done it with other presidents where he's golfed with them. And he's done it with Trump. And they asked him about that. And he said, I've known him. But he wouldn't make a political statement. They asked him what about the president's stand on anthem politics. And he said, well, agree or disagree with him, you have to respect the office. And he got blasted for not being political on First Take. Stephen A. Smith went as far as to question his race. I mean, how backwards are we that you can't just, an athlete, particularly, athletes who are minorities, which are the majority of the big time athletes, if you don't bring up a political opinion, you're blasted. It shouldn't be that way. If you want to come up with a political opinion, sure, but don't expect everyone to then be, hooray, you have a political opinion. People, and it's gonna impact your sales, because we're in a country that's divided so much now that, maybe I won't go buy Nike products next time out because they decided to feature Kaepernick in their ads. By the way, I'm a New Balance guy, but that's because I find it more comfortable, not anything with political. I just find shoes are more comfortable. But there are people that are seriously boycotting and even burning their shoes. I mean, I'm not going to go burn something because a company has a different political opinion than me. I just won't. I'm not even going to say I won't buy their product, because that's what people did with Chick-fil-A, to take another example, is if they make a good product, then you can have controversies away from that and still be successful as a company. But you have to be very careful so you don't alienate too many people, because as a company and as an athlete who's trying to sell your brand, you're trying to be as appealing to a wide range of people as possible. So back to what Jordan said, Republicans buy sneakers too. People with Jordan, he was making money. He doesn't care if the money's coming from a Republican, a Democrat, whatever. They're buying his sneakers. They're going to the games. They're putting his posters on his wall. So the politicization of sports, I think, has to do a little bit with the media, though. Because, as I just mentioned, ESPN, two ESPN announced commentators on one of their most successful and highly rated programs recently blasted Tiger Woods for his not going political in an interview. And by the way, Tiger, he was hungry. He just completed 18 holes. Like, you really expect him to go on some diatribe about politics, whatever your opinion is, when he's, just wanting, that's how he ended the interview. He's like, well, I just finished 18 holes, so I'm going to go eat. Which I thought was kind of funny. He's probably not really expecting those questions, and then they come, and he wants to appeal to a broad base. He wants to be Michael Jordan. He doesn't just want one side of the political aisle to like him because they agree with him. And I don't get why we have to be so obsessive in this country about what celebrities think about politics. Unless you're a political commentator or a politician, do I really care if you're an actor, what you think about politics? You don't know anything more than me, probably. We don't take the opinions of, Larry the electrician as much as we do as, LeBron James, but they might know equally amount. You just don't know. I mean, LeBron James's job and his work is basketball. And again, he can have an opinion, but it shouldn't be taken so seriously where it's like, well, what he's saying is absolutely correct, because sometimes you can be wrong. Colin Kaepernick, has been wrong on a lot of fronts. He has been very clear about, what he's about specific instances of what he's protesting about, police brutality. At the time when he started protesting, the then Obama administration was actually investigating police departments that had received complaints for racial injustice. So it's not like, and it's not like anybody in this country, any sane person in this country, is like, you know what, I want the police to shoot more people. No one's like that. So he just started, in my opinion, he started protesting the anthem not because it is, it was suddenly he was concerned. I think it was that he took a gamble, that he was realizing that his career was beginning to fade a bit. He was going to be a backup. He was productive as a backup that year, and that was a way to give him a roster spot and potentially a starting spot. Is that if he created enough noise, then it would be construed if the 49ers had cut him that, oh, well, it's because of his political stance. And he ended up playing out the year. It was his final year of the contract, and now he's not been signed because teams don't want to deal with that headache. And I think part of it is that, I've heard Colin Cowherd saying something smart. You don't want your backup quarterback to be more popular than your starting quarterback. So it's the reason why Tim Tebow hasn't been signed is because he's super popular, but he's a backup. I mean, that's going to be, if he's signed, he's going to be backup, but you don't want him to be more popular than the starter. You want your backup to be a good quarterback who can come in and perform well. You don't want him to be somebody who brings a distraction to the team unnecessarily. So Kaepernick, Tebow, what have you, there's a reason why they haven't been signed and haven't been in that position, because teams are like, it's a bit too much of a distraction. We don't want unfair criticism on our starter, and whatever. But that's a point. That's kind of a side point. I think Kaepernick saw how LeBron, who was starting to get political at that time, was getting praised by ESPN and by Sports Illustrated, and now other athletes, you bring in mind Caitlyn Jenner, were being honored, and he was like, maybe I kind of want to in on this. What can I protest? What was the big thing in that year? It was police brutality. So I'm going to make this statement, this protest. I'm going to start doing this, and it's going to make me popular in the media, and it's worked out for him, because even though he hasn't been signed, he's making a lot more money now with Nike as the kind of martyr from the NFL than than he would have if he had just not protested, but then been a backup or a below league average starter. Like Nike isn't going to sign. Nike isn't going to put. I think of a quarterback that's kind of on the fringe of being good. They're not going to put like Patrick Mahomes or Teddy Bridgewater on their as the centerpiece of their advertising. And those quarterbacks are about as good, maybe even a little bit better than Colin Kaepernick. So it's worked out for him, and he's made a lot of money. So that's the gamble he took, and in a way, he ended up his NFL career for now looks to be over, but he does have a big contract from Nike and is appearing in their in their primetime premiere talked about advertisement, which is going to air tonight. So, and then ESPN, it used to be, I would turn on SportsCenter when I was a kid. I would turn on SportsCenter, and SportsCenter would be the highlights of last night's game. And now it's the highlights of what LeBron James said last night about the president. I'm not as interested in that as seeing a LeBron James dunk. I'm sorry, like that's just me. Uh, Look, and again, like I said, I'm not saying athletes shouldn't have opinions. They have the right to, but it's come to the point where it's so in your face that it's you can't enjoy the games without somehow politics being brought into it. And sports and politics, I think, should remain separate, should remain distinct. There's a time for politics. There's a time for discussions, and then there's a time for unification. And sports is a great way. Like I said at the beginning, after the Super Bowl parade, if you're not sitting, you're standing next to a person, you don't care if that person voted for Trump, voted for Hillary, voted third party, didn't vote at all. You just see them in their green Eagles jersey, and the person on your left as well, you see them in their green Eagles jersey, and you celebrate as fans of the team that just did something impossible and it was not impossible and become champions of your team or become champions for your city, and it's unifying. It's unifying as a sports fan. You go to the sports bar and you're cheering for Michigan football. You don't care if the guy next to you at the bar put his politics on. But now it seems like it has to be, everything has to be political. And we have to be dividing ourselves, even in sports, with LeBron James. Because the politics have become such a big part of him, it's you're almost making a political statement by liking it. And I think a big part of his going political, LeBron's, especially in the last few months, is he realizes he can't catch Jordan in championship rings. He might not even catch Kobe. And I say that as a Lakers fan who wants to see LeBron succeed the team. He might not reach that level of success. So what's he going to do? He's going to be the political and social warrior that will fight for the rights of the downtrodden. That's going to be his thing. If I can't catch Jordan on the court, I'll be better off the court. If I can't, if I can't catch Jordan, then I might as well go into the political realm and be successful there and try and have shows there. And that's why in the last few months, as much talk as we've heard about LeBron James on the court, a lot of his recent activities suggest he's aiming for a post NBA career as an actor, political analyst, spokesperson for this cause, instead of focusing on the basketball side of this game. That's been the focus of the media. And LeBron's answer to MJ's Republicans by speakers too seems to be, well, Republicans are racist though. And if you believe that everybody, 40 odd percent of people in the last election who voted for Trump are racist, then you probably don't want them buying your sneakers. But if you're like Michael Jordan and realize political opinion, it's all that, and you'd rather have people from all walks of life buy your sneakers, you'd rather have 100% of the people like you than 40%, 43% dislike you because you're vocal about politics. You take that risk. So LeBron is taking that risk because he's all about his legacy. He said so himself. He's trying to catch that ghost. So I think the big reason LeBron's gotten political is the legacy part. So I think that sports are too political now. That athletes should, their best role for this country is as unifiers, and by doing what they do well. And I could say the same about actors and musicians too. You're trying to create a product that people like. I mean, with acting, Titanic was a success, but it wasn't political. Republicans liked the movie Titanic. Democrats liked the movie Titanic. Independents liked the movie Titanic. A lot of people liked it. It made a ton of money. And sports even more so, because movies can still be political in a sense because they're an art, and art tends to be a bit more political. Sports, I don't get what's wrong with just being like, hey, I just want to enjoy the athletes' great play, this work that they practice from a young age, and how they create, great plays and are able to test their body to extremes and to be the best at what they have, which is very, very hard to do, and what a small minority of people can do. There's almost no one else on the planet that can do the things LeBron James can do on a basketball court. There's very few people that can play the high level football that some of these anthem protests in NFL players play. They don't need to be political, but they choose to be because they're being praised in the media for it. And I think the sports media should be concerned about sports. That's their job. And try and avoid the political opinions of players. Like when I do my NFL previews, I'm looking at the merits of the team. And I think it's unfortunate now that you turn on ESPN and it's all politics, it seems. It's been dubbed MSESPN by guys like Clay Travis and Ben Shapiro. It's turned into MSNBC that covers sports when it should be ESPN should unify. So I think that's one thing. So, and again, you have the right to say what you want in this country. I'm not saying take away that right, but also realize where you are and realize the consequences of what you say. Because you have freedom of speech doesn't mean you can't face consequences for what you say. It just means the government can't come in and impact you and prevent you from saying what you're saying. The NFL is a private organization. They can decide, hey, you can't protest in this way, and as a private organization have that right. NBA does the same thing. And I think the NFL should implement that policy. That's one of the things I see as what they should change. I think one thing I disliked about the LeBron James Shop show was it wasn't really a discussion. It was just kind of guys agreeing with each other. I think it would have been fun if he had like a guy like Jason Whitlock on, or if he really wants to talk politics, bring the guy like Ben Shapiro on. Ben Shapiro isn't gonna yell at you. He's gonna engage you in a discussion. And if you really want to have these discussions, if you really want to, but I think too often you're trying to score brownie points with your base. So instead of shouting at one another, they should, and calling names like racist and all that, they should try and have discussions with those they disagree with. And I think that can really be applied to almost anyone involved in social media or any political discourse. More players should follow the Michael Jordan mantra of Republicans buy sneakers too. We should be seeing more highlights and stuff on ESPN. That's what people want to see. They want to see what happened in the game last night. If I go to a sports bar, I'm going to debate whether or not the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't want to debate the merits of Michael Bennett's protest is. So that should be the discussion when it comes to sports. Because the sports discussion, if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Giants fan and I'm an Eagles fan, we can still be friends, it seems. And not that you can't be friends with those who are politically different from you, but in this day and age, it's much harder. But I can still go watch a game with somebody who's a different sports opinion and enjoy the debate and have fun, because it really, in the end, it doesn't matter. And then And then I think an obvious one is if an athlete decides not to be political, they shouldn't be criticized. If anything, they should be praised. With Tiger Woods, so what if he decided not to get political? So what? Does it really impact you that much? If it really impacts you that much that somebody doesn't vocally agree with you about your political stance, maybe you need better arguments for it, or maybe you shouldn't be so obsessive about what other people think about your opinion. It's your opinion, and if you want to get other people to agree with you, you shouldn't yell at them when they don't bring up their political opinion. So, and I honestly think that if it hasn't happened, Stephen A. And the Max government should apologize to Tiger. I'm being completely serious. They should apologize to Tiger Woods for the things they said to him and about him, for not being political. I mean, it was, I think it really crossed the line to go where they went just because Tiger Woods wouldn't affirm their opinions on the president. Tiger Woods doesn't want to go down that route. That's his choice. He's a grown man, and he has just as much as they have the freedom to talk about politics in this country, the freedom to not talk about it and to not make your opinions known. It's a two-way street. And so I think sports should be that respite for wars and strife and political debates. And I think the greatest role of an athlete is to be that unifier, is to unify people among admiration for the hard work you put in, for the athleticism and the plays you make, and for the success that you bring yourself in an individual sport, like a golfer like Tiger Woods, or your team, like the Philadelphia Eagles, like the Golden State Warriors. The focus should be the successes on the court, on the field, on the course, whatever, and not on your latest political opinion. So that's just my opinion. And honestly, I'd love in the comments for you guys to sound off and where you think I might be wrong, or if you agree with me, whatever. We can have a discussion here in the comments section. I know that's inviting trouble or whatever. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm going to go back to the more fun topics like college football reviews, NFL reviews, sports previews, all of that in future episodes. This is just an episode I wanted to get done because of everything that's happened recently with the Kaepernick ad, with the Tiger Woods thing, with the NFL protests, with LeBron James and all that. It just seems to be such a huge part of our sports coverage now that I wanted to get an episode out. I wanted to talk about that as an issue in the sports world that's permeating the culture. So that's my thoughts. You can again follow me on Twitter at jmoney18c. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content, as I will be uploading multiple times a week. Sports podcasts like this one, live streaming, and then they stay up on the channel. So be sure to comment down below your thoughts on any of my videos, not just this one. But I'd love to have discussions with you guys and continue to see this channel grow. As I'm really appreciative of the people who have subscribed and who have watched. You know who you are, so thank you so much. And for those who follow me on Twitter, thank you. I do this for you guys, so thank you guys so much. Have a good day, good evening, have a safe and happy weekend, and enjoy week 1 of the NFL. Go Eagles.